Unit 35. Listening.
You will now hear an environmental engineer that dedicates his life to help and prevent water pollution. Right, true, or false? If false, explain why.
Define environmental engineering.
Environmental engineering can also be called sanitary engineering, which includes water treatment processes, soil remediation, and the study and improvement of air quality.
What is the most common form of water pollution? Why?
Fine sediments and excess nutrient deposits such as phosphorus are the main forms of pollution in rivers and other bodies of water.
What type of methods, technologies have been created to help the water pollution issue today?
There hasn't exactly been any new technology used. What engineers are focusing on more is the improvement of existing technologies. Rain gardens, detention ponds, reservoirs, and constructive wetlands are a few to name.
What are the main river channel and water management issues in focus at this time?
Well, for sure, fine sediments.
Unit 35. Reading comprehension.
Listen and complete the missing words.
Even though it is a basic human right, access to water is becoming increasingly limited as a result of serious environmental problems, pollution of water sources, and industrial water use. We are water. The World Bank suggests that one person needs 5 gallons of potable water per day to satisfy metabolic, household, and personal hygiene needs. The World Health Organization, WHO, assumes more generous requirements of 13 to 26 gallons per day. Access to water is a recognized human right as per Resolution 64/292 of the United Nations General Assembly. Dated July 28, 2010, it is so basic that all the rights essentially flow from the availability of water. Nonetheless, for out every 10 people experience water's scarcity, and as the WHO emphasizes, the situation is getting worse owing to population growth, urban development, and increased domestic and industrial water use. The organization suggests that this scarcity, occurring even in areas with abundant rainfall or large amounts of fresh water, is due to the way in which water is used and distributed. This affects households, but also agriculture, industry, and the environment. Despite the already manifest scarcity of water, the United Nations 2014 World Water Development Reports notes that worldwide demand for water will grow approximately 55% by the year 2050, mainly due to increasing demand from production 400%, thermal energy generation 140%, and domestic consumption 130%. By the same date, more than 40% of the world's population will live in areas with serious water issues. Water use conflicts in the Americas. Most of the world's water goes to agriculture, even though much of this activity produces material for biofuels rather than food for human consumption. Domestic consumption makes up the second largest category of water use. However, it is industry, particularly the energy industry, that is taking an ever larger slice of the water consumption market. The United Nations Water and Energy Report states that 90% of global electricity production requires water, and any decision made in one sector, for better or worse, influences the other, since water and energy supplies are intertwined. Considering the number of regional conflicts related to the use of water in Latin America, these decisions seem to be being made without considering the needs of all users. During the 156th session of the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, IACHR, held in October of 2015, various civil society organizations expressed their fear that Latin America is heading toward increasing problems of exploitation of water sources, given the growing pressure exerted on natural resources by extractive activities, particularly dam construction and mining. In Chile, for example, the Mapuches are fighting to conserve the Pichitrancura River in the Curarrehue community in Araucania. There are plans to build a control center there for the Central Anihuarraqui hydroelectric project, but the Mapuches insist that its construction would affect spiritually significant areas and divide communities. The southern country follows a system of water use rights, WUR, that allows for free exchanges of WR in the goods and services markets and allocates a certain volume of water to be used exclusively by the holders of these rights. In short, water is a private asset for sale. Similarly, over the last 6 years, Panama has built 23 water plants to supply the needs of a market that demands 6% more energy every year, the largest percentage of which goes to cooling the shopping centers and offices of Panama City. More than half of these dams were built on 3 rivers in Chiriquí province. The rivers supply water to communities and peoples who grow potatoes, vegetables, grains, and fruit. Unit 36. So, Cecilia, let's go through your daily routine. I expect it's the same as on your last ship.
Sure, where do we begin?
Here at 7 a.m. First, you always speak to your excursion team.
Okay.
Then, passengers usually meet in the ship's theater before they leave the ship. That's 30 minutes after we arrive in port.
And the excursions normally leave 30 minutes later?
That's right. Next, you always check the buses on the passengers list.
Sure.
Then, after they leave the ship, you generally have time for administration work.
Do I go on any excursion?
If you have time, you usually don't.
Okay. What about the evenings?
Finally, in the evenings, you usually take reservations for the next day.
It's not exactly the same as my last ship, but it's similar.
Great. Well, the passengers arrive tomorrow morning. You're free this evening.
Thanks.
Some of us from the entertainment team are going out to dinner. Would you like to come with us? You can meet everyone in an informal setting.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Christian.
Unit 36. Reading Comprehension. Listen and complete the missing words.
Arequipa hosted the 13th meeting of the Network of Women Leaders of APEC, which showed that natural leadership of women entrepreneurs in the Asia-Pacific region must be backed by training and technology in order to achieve better business possibilities. The participation of women in business on equal terms as men has become a must for the development of a country. In the Asia-Pacific region, women's participation is highly valued. It was in 1998 when the first APEC leaders gave room for the recommendation of the first women ministerial meeting held in the Philippines, and as a result, in 1999, the Ad Hoc Advisory Group on Gender Integration, AGI, was introduced, with the purpose of leading in the implementation of framework for the integration of women into APEC. Thanks to this forum, APEC women living in the Asia-Pacific region have 2 main tools at their reach so as to participate and benefit from technology and exchange of information, training and business facilitation. Around a dozen female entrepreneurs, exporters, and leaders of APEC gathered from 9th to 11th May in Arequipa in order to analyze the progress and achievements in the field of women participation, in trade, and in gender matters. The following has been said by the forum. Promoting the presence of business women in the export markets of APEC. Strengthening the exporting skills of women from the Asia-Pacific. Sharing experiences and best practices of women in the export business. As conclusion, after 2 weeks of meetings, they highlighted the commitment of the network of women leaders for enhancing trade capacity of women in the digital economy, through the mechanisms of high technology and the internet, as well as training young women in electronic commerce. Another important agreement was to hear the voice of the citizens of rural areas in the Pacific region, to whom new technologies must be brought to, so as to improve their standards of living, especially when we consider that nearly 50% of APEC members' economies that are still rural areas where it is necessary to improve technology for trade to work and for communications to become more fluid. One of the APEC goals is to promote business facilitation. In that regard, during the meeting of the Women's Forum, Peruvian entrepreneurs and other members' economies, such as Chile, managed to achieve trading transactions for up to $1.5 million in 3 days. During the business round held in the convention center Cerro Juli, this meeting of women exporters and APEC leaders was a change, not only to learn and get closer to new technologies, but also to engage in successful business relationships that contribute with the professional and human development of women in Asia Pacific.